I'm from a working class family. I grew up with this concept of like money is tight. So I never even considered someone like me could make a movie, especially coming from a country like Argentina that has such volatile economies and policies. So I started writing with that emphasis that related to the working class experience, make films of my own that have that narrative.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Producer's Corner, where we highlight diverse voices and artists in East County, Portland area. And today we have a very special guest, Roberta. Roberta is a filmmaker here in Portland with a background in directing, producing, editing, even acting, right? And a bunch of other stuff, just like working on sets. So we're going to talk to Roberta today and get to know her a little bit better, get to hear about her background and her experience within the industry. Thank you so much for making the time to be out here. I'm really excited to talk with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So it'd be great to get to know a little bit more about you, like where you're from, what you do, and just how would you describe yourself overall?
Very clumsy.
Clumsy, yes. Okay, we got that.
I am from Argentina. I was born and raised in the Buenos Aires province in the neighborhood of Valentina Alsina. And I think I've established I'm clumsy. That's just followed me since I was born. I'm 30 years old. I speak English, Spanish, and that's pretty much... Yeah, I think that's where my intelligence reaches.
But you also have like a really extensive background in film, right?
In arts, yes.
Arts.
And it's always been like pretty independent or self-taught. I don't have like an academic background where I can tell you like I went to this school or this other one. I did go to film school and I went to theater school. I dropped out of the two of them for... it was just very difficult to schedule work and find a job that will have me be free in the hours that I had to go to school. So, but I did get some really good years of education here and there. Then during high school, I did a bachelor's in literature because that was what this high school I went to offered. And I guess I got really passionate about writing during those years in high school. Then I was in the theater club of school, and we would put up all these community theater plays. And in the meantime, I guess since I was 12 years old, I also self-taught myself English just because I found it really interesting. And here I am today.
So you have more of an extensive background in arts in general, which I think is really interesting. Because you and I have worked together a little bit on sets.
Yes.
And I know you mainly as like a film person.
Yes.
So was there like a specific moment that like you decided that film was going to be the career path that you were going to pursue more? Like how did that come to be?
I guess it just kind of happened. I've always wanted to be an actress since I was little. That's what I wanted to do the most. But I guess it didn't come as easily to me. I was really passionate about it, but I wasn't, so to speak, hitting my marks. And then my aunt had gone to film school, and one day we were talking. I was like 18 or 19, and I was having a really hard time finding a career path. My parents also didn't really like the idea of me just going full-time on theater because there was just not like realistically, is that a word in English?
Yeah, it wasn't realistic.
It wasn't realistic for me to make a living out of acting, and so they were kind of like just trying to pressure me into going to English as a second language school, so then I could have a job, like I could, since I knew English, I could teach it, and I didn't really want to do that. I just wanted to act. And I was talking to my aunt, and this is crazy, she has worked in television for years as a camera operator.
Oh, wow.
We were talking about it, and I guess it never occurred to me to ask how she got into that career path. To me, that was just like something she did. And she told me that she had gone to film school. And I was like, what? You went to film school? That's crazy. And she told me about the school she went to. I didn't even think at that point about film schools. It wasn't just even in my radar. And when she told me about it, she was telling me that she did like a creative test to try to get into the school, and she got accepted. And it's interesting because to me the part that caught my eye the most was that I didn't have to study. It was a creative test. You would go in there,
Okay.
they would like give you some creative things to do, and then according to that you would get scored, and if you get like in the top 60 score, then you get a spot in the film school. And to me that was amazing because I'm really lazy. I don't like studying. I like reading for myself, but like I'm not good with homework or anything, which little did I know I would have to read and do homework in film school. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's just, I was sold. I was like, great, if I go to film school I could learn to make films, and then I can star in my own films. So it was always very ambitious from the very get-go. And I remember talking about this with my dad, and he was very excited. And he was telling me that at least I would have more options if I went to film school rather than going to acting, that like really all I could do was teach or act if I was very lucky. So I signed up to be an applicant in the same film school that my aunt went to. That was the year 2015. And I didn't get accepted. I got in a wait list because I was like number 61. And then 2 weeks later, they called me and they had opened the spot. So I got to go to film school. And it was, but that was the worst week of my life. I was like, like I suck. Waiting.
Oh no.
No one liked my stories. I cried all week, and my dad was like, "It's okay, you just try next year."
Oh no.
And then a week later, they called me, and the drama was over, and I was very happy. And that's how actually my film journey started. But I really didn't. It's not like I went to film school thinking of movies or directors or screenwriting. I just really went to the film school because I wanted to learn to make films so I could act in them.
That's so interesting. So you kind of came in with that passion for acting that stayed with you, but like you kind of had to redirect it a little bit.
Yeah, so exactly. And then when I started film school, you know, like I was just immersed into seeing film in a different way, you know. I've always, and I think it's always been a part of me. Like I've always been really connected to movies. I just never thought I could make them, because in reality, and especially coming from a country like Argentina that has such volatile economies and policies, inflation is always like a problem. I grew up with this concept of like money is tight. There isn't really that many things that you can do, and especially in the arts. So I never even considered someone like me could make a movie or make it happen, you know. And so when I went to film school, one of the first things I was taught was that you can totally make a film with some money. You cannot make it without money, but you can make it with some money, and it doesn't have to be a lot. And so at least that's the way. I went to a school called IDAC. It's the Institute of Cinematographic Arts of Avellaneda, which is the city where the school is. And that's kind of like the line of education they give is the idea that the working class can access to film, that the working class should be making art, that art is not just something for the upper class, you know. And that blew my mind. I'm from a working class family. I grew up, you know, with my parents working 12 hours a day. I barely saw them. Me and my sisters raised my 6 siblings because no one was home. Oh, sorry. Clumsy again.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's really interesting because, like, I feel like, you know, when it comes to working in the arts and working in film specifically, like, there's always that sort of like caution that comes with working in this industry, because you don't really know if you're going to make it big. Like there's, you know, like people think about like working in Hollywood or working in New York and how like that sort of grind of like being on sets for 12 hours, like that's what kind of people define as successful within the industry. But there's different levels of success, right? So like as working class people being able to like share stories that like represent that experience as a success in itself, because like you're showing different perspectives and you're being authentic. So I did want to kind of redirect the conversation and talk more about like your projects and the sort of work that you're doing, and I guess kind of like what that means to you now that you've sort of gone through this journey. You've been in school, and yeah, maybe we can talk more about like your specific work that you do now here in Portland and how that came to be.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it was a journey. When I went into film school, I didn't start film school saying I'm gonna be a director or a producer. I just wanted to learn how to make films and how they work. And so through the years, like when I was going to school, I thought I wanted to make documentaries because I found them like an interesting way of storytelling. And, you know, I feel like probably in the arts, the most efficient type of art that can I guess the most political, the most scandalous, the most straightforward way of making someone change their mind is through film. And I think music too, but like those are the two form of arts that are very like in your face. And I think when I went into film school and I realized I could do that, that just, it was incredible. It blew my mind. I was like, if I have all these tools, I go from being like someone who's working class, who went through all these struggles, and I see my colleagues that go through the same struggles. And I also consume all this media that, you know, there's, you know, the Hollywood dream or the idea, the movies that we consume, especially in Argentina, where like most of the media comes from the United States, is the idea that we're buying into this dream. And the dream, the American dream, quote unquote, is always, most of the movies that we watch always have this, most likely will always have this storyline of this working class person that makes it big and gets out of there.
Yeah.
It's never about like, oh, I'm struggling with this and I have to find a way of still survive and be happy and live my human experience. It's always about like, what kind of scheme can I pull to become rich? And that just connects with my childhood, because that's what happened growing up. We were a poor family. My parents had a bakery. I have 7 siblings. My mom had no education at that point. She finished high school recently. She had no other education other than like the first 2 years of high school. My dad also didn't have high school. They didn't have any other skill sets other than like, you know, being workers. I don't know what it's called, blue collar.
Blue collar work.
And I guess they did really want a different life for us. And my mom was constantly trying, I'm not kidding, constantly trying to pull out some get rich quickly scheme. She would, every week we would try something different. She would be like, okay, I'm gonna sell shoes now, and then
my mom also sold shoes.
It's such a coincidence, funny coincidence.
Oh my god.
She would, you know, try to sell clothes, and it was always in the bakery too. It's like, it just like didn't make any sense. Like I look back now and I'm like, what were you trying to do right there? Like I see the struggle. She was just like really trying to get us financially somewhere else that wasn't the reality that we were living. And to me, living that and then seeing this idea that like there was one possibility that you will win the lottery or that you will become famous, or, you know, always this idea of like living your status as a working class. But it's never like, what can we do to solve the issues that the working class have, so then we don't have to become millionaires to stop suffering from capitalism. So that's basically where my writing started. I started drifting towards the idea of like writing things that related to the working class experience that don't have to do with like get rich quickly, get famous quickly, get happiness from love at first sight, rather than like what makes our day better in the reality that we live. And so I started writing with that emphasis, and I started to try to produce films that have that narrative, make films of my own that have that narrative. Because at the end of the day, I feel like I try to find the small victories when I'm at my worst. And sometimes it's like, I don't know, I'm clumsy. So like I'm having a terrible day, and then I just run into a window, and that makes me laugh. And that's just my day, you know?
Yeah, that's so good to hear. I feel like there's something so empowering about being able to like tell your own story. I think you were talking about that a little bit earlier when you said that you realized that you could just make a film if you have the right tools, if you have like a story in mind. And I think that's what's really powerful about like this platform that we work in, is that you can impact people and like inform people of your experiences. And I feel like just hearing you talk about like, you know, finding the small victories and like appreciating the things in life, I think that's just like so beautiful to hear, honestly.
Yeah.
And I feel like that does translate in your work. So I do want to talk about Navidad de Reserva.
Okay.
So that's your film.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us about that film. Tell us about like, you know, so you mentioned that you're a writer, and that's sort of like what got you hooked with like storytelling. So I'd love to hear about the process of like writing the film. And I'm sure there's a lot more that you could share also.
Yes. So it's a short film. It's called Navidad de Reserva. I wrote it originally. It was there was this grant. It was a script contest that I saw on the internet. I think it was Facebook or something. And the grand prize was $5,000 for the production of the short film. This was the first year of the pandemic. It was in 2020.
Yeah.
And to me, it was very interesting because a lot of films were coming from this perspective of the lockdown and the idea of like, oh, you can't, the isolation that the COVID lockdown was bringing people.
Yeah.
And that to me sparked something, because I had been at that point 3 years without seeing my family or being able to leave the state, the country, get on an airplane, a train, all these things to avoid coming into the police that potentially can ask for your ID, that potentially can lead to the immigration police, that potentially leads to deportation. You know, it's all these things you have to navigate.
Yeah.
And so people were coming out with these films about the isolation from COVID, and I thought, like, I wish people knew this is what undocumented immigrants live day to day. There's people that live in this status of extreme isolation for years while they wait for a paper that will allow them to have human rights, human basic rights, like circulation, like going to visit your family. And I met quite a few of immigrants during that time that have had, like, 3 years is nothing in comparison to one of my friends. She was undocumented for 25 years, and during that time her dad passed away, and she couldn't leave. And I think that people don't really understand to what degree sometimes you are not, like, the layers that it takes for people to, like, just go back and not be able to come in. Sometimes people are sending money to their families, and that's the only money that their families back in their country will get, you know? So, like, it's not really a possibility for some people, for a great majority, I would say.
Yeah.
So I thought that it would be interesting to write something that that sort of encapsulated that idea of, like, this isolation that is caused by not being able to, like, leave the country because of being undocumented, but also the complicated layers of, like, okay, but, like, why is it that you can't leave? What is it in the United States that is more important than everything that you're leaving behind, you know?
Yeah.
The idea of the American dream.
The American dream.
The so-called American dream.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. It's just a concept, you know, you know. And so I saw this script contest, and I thought to myself, maybe it's time to write that thing it's been pondering in my head. It was pondering in my head for like a year.
Yeah.
And I didn't do it. I have really bad ADHD. So I think it was a month deadline. And I think the deadline was, I remember this, the deadline was September 30th, 2020 at 11:59.
Oh my God, you got all the details down.
Because I will never forget this. And so the month went by. I had a different script that I thought I was going to submit, but it was like, it's like a horror drama, kind of fantastic. And I wrote that in Spanish, so I was trying to translate it for the whole month. And then I said to myself, I can't, because it's this script contest is usually given to like stories that have some kind of that they're trying to change, to make a change factor, or like just like a political piece of art,
totally.
a critique. So I didn't think I had something there. There's definitely in the script something to look at, but it's more complicated, and like I can just go and pitch it and make a good cause for this specific grant that is very progressive, right? Or that wants to support progressive stories. So I let it go, and I didn't think I was going to do anything. And then the last day, September 30th, I went out for dinner with my ex-husband, and we were talking about Christmas or whatever. And I thought maybe I should write that script that I was thinking about, and it should be set in Christmas. So I sat down and I wrote a comedy. It was a comedy at the time. And I sat down like at 10 p.m. I was like, I think I can do this. And at 11:59 and coins, I hit the end. I saved it. I uploaded everything. I think it was a little later than the deadline. I think it was like 12:05 or something like that. And I sent it. And then I was selected as a finalist.
Wow.
And I pitched on, I think, December of that year. I did a pitch online. It was a terrible pitch. It was my first time pitching. But I got a lot of support from people that just, thought that the script was quirky or funny, and they voted for it, even though, again, at the time I wasn't a really good public speaker. And I won. Everyone voted for my script. It was great. I got the support from this organization to make the film happen. And then I had some notes back on the script that, well, I knew when I wrote it that I was writing something very over the top, but also because I was trying to win. I was trying to like get to the core of what I wanted to write. So it was very much about immigration at the time. It was very much about her not having a green card. We talked about it in the script. It's something that is mentioned that she is sad about. She gets to see her family on this video call, but it's all about like her green card. They talk about it explicitly. I knew this is not the route I wanted to go, because I don't think that's intelligent writing. I think that's just, I give you something in your face and then you don't have time to think or process anything, because I'm telling you everything. So I didn't want to go that route, but also I got those notes like, maybe this is too obvious. And so I did some research, and I ended up working with a script consultant. His name is Alberto Romero. He's a director from Argentina. And we started working like the script more with the nuances that I wanted to work, which was the idea that it was a working class Christmas tale about this person who's really trying to reconnect with her family, but she can't. Yeah. And this idea that, when you see Christmas films, there's always sort of like that American dream idea that there will always happen a Christmas miracle right at midnight, where like things are fixed and everyone's happy. And I said to myself, why don't I do the opposite? Why don't I give you something that you really, really want to be fixed by the end of it, but then it's not. And then you just have to live with it.
Yeah. So I did get a chance to screen the film. And I think just the way that you are talking about the story, and like, there's not an exact resolution at the end. It's just more of like, you get a piece of something and it's like someone's life story, and that's just kind of it. Like, it's an open and closed book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought that was really well said about your film. Like, there doesn't have to be a happy ending. There doesn't have to be a resolution. It's just like, it just kind of is what it is. So yeah, I really enjoyed that about the film, but I was hoping to like hear more about sort of like your process for distribution. And I know that you have your film in some festivals right now, so could you talk to us a little bit more?
Yeah.
That?
So once I was finished with the writing process, which by the way, maybe this is just me, but I was doing rewrites up until the very last day of filming, because it's just if the just so the viewers know, the film is about, it's a slice of life. That means it just follows snapshots of this person's life. The protagonist, her name is Florencia. She's an immigrant, and it's set on Christmas Eve. And it just follows basically her night. You know, she is at work, and then she goes to the bus stop to wait for the bus. And while she's at the bus stop, she talks to her family. It's the things that happen at work and during the walk to the bus stop and at the bus stop that makes you think about this person's life, right? And because of that, it was just so hard to write something that will capture the nuances of, like, you know, working for an upper class family. You know, the concept of like domestic workers are mostly immigrants. And I was a nanny and a housekeeper, and you know, we run these people's houses, Nike executives' houses, and we get paid the least amount of money that you can, $9, $10 an hour in cash, because what else are you going to do? You don't have papers. And sometimes these people are really, really nice. You know, like it's a conflict of interest, because like on the one hand, you're really nice, but then on the other hand, you're doing this shady thing. Anyway, once we were done with the filming process, we went into editing, scoring, sound mixing, coloring. This whole process took 2.5 years, which is incredibly long for a short film of 11 minutes. Once we were done, I started submitting for the festival circuit. We had our opening at a McMinnville short film festival that happens in McMinnville, Oregon. And I'm navigating the process of film festivals.
Totally.
Trying to understand how they work. I, of course, got rejected from some film festivals, and I started researching and seeing like what is your best bet, like, because you also have to pay for these submissions, and it's anywhere between $30 to $69, $70. So it adds up.
It's a whole process in itself.
Yeah, well, you also have to, you know, make sure that your website is up to date and that you send the screenshot, like the screen grabs in high quality, and that you know, like that you have your presentation, right? It's sort of a game that I'm trying to learn how to play, and it's just like sometimes it sucks, because I wish it was just about the art, but it's just a whole other layer. You write, and then you produce, and you go into post-production, and then the festival circuit, it's another whole arm of your movie, because that's basically where your movie gets seen. So you have to get the most screens possible, because that's how you get to people, and that's how people get to see your movie. But also that's where potential investors will see a film and be like, I really like this director. I really liked the way that she writes. I really liked her perspective. I want to invest in this. I want this person to direct something at my studio. If it's a studio or if it's an independent studio, it's like, how can we help you? And that's the part where I need to get into film festivals, because if I want to continue to write and direct, I need finance. I need money, basically.
Yeah, totally.
I don't have the money to produce my own films, and grants is what I've done. I was lucky enough with this project to win 3 grants. It was the first contest I won. Then I won the Women in Film Visions grant for post-production, and then I got supported by the Milagro Theater Association too. But sometimes it's not enough money. I had to save and put some money from my own pocket, because it's just like things add up. And festivals is one thing that like adds up.
Yeah, totally. So you mentioned that the Navidad de Reserva was screening at McMinnville Festival, right? That was this February, I think.
It
I
was
believe.
in February.
In
Yes,
February.
that was our opening night, and we were nominated for Best Oregon Film. We didn't win, but we were nominated.
Congrats! That's
Thank
so
you.
exciting. Is there other places where your film is screening, or like how can we get in touch with the work that you do?
So right now we just started the festival circuit, so I predict that it's gonna be in the festival circle for a year and a half. That means that I can't put it on the internet while it's touring. I'm gonna have the Argentinian premiere next Saturday, the 4th of May. Yeah, I'm so happy.
Yeah.
In a film festival called La Mujer y el Cine. It's a film festival. It's the only film festival in my country that highlights only the work of women and trans women and non-binary people.
Nice.
So it's gonna be 4 days of woman only directing films.
Wow.
I'm gonna be in the midnight block on Saturday, which is very interesting. I've never done a late function like that. And we are in the official competition, so that means we're up for best film, best score, best actress, and all that.
Wow,
so
congrats.
We'll
That's such a big deal.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm really happy. I'm also just so happy. I'm gonna get to go for the festival. Right now my country's not going through the it's really bad down there right now, especially for the arts, but I'm just happy that I will go there to see the premiere and be with my family and share that moment with them, and then also just kind of get involved with the arts community right now, because they're really struggling, and I want to see how I could help in any kind of way. So that's interesting.
It sounds like it'll be kind of like a full circle moment. You have this film sort of talking about your experiences with being isolated from home, and now you get to come home and sort of like show the fruits of your labor. You're showing like your story, and you're celebrating your film, and you're in a familiar place that you were longing for. So that's really great to hear.
Yes. It does feel like a full circle.
Yeah. And you'll get to see your family and your friends. Are they coming to the screening?
I think so. Yeah. I invited
come.
them. Some of them complained that it was too late, but what can you do?
What can you do?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for talking about your personal life, your experiences in the film industry, getting into the weeds about like the process of making your own film from start to finish, and you're still going. So we're excited to hear more about your adventures. Is there anywhere that our viewers can keep in touch with you, like on social media or a website or anything?
I'm on Instagram. My Instagram is Miss Cumbianchera, and then the Instagram for my film is Navidad Film. And then if anyone wants to watch it, they could shoot me a message and I'll send them a private link.
Ooh.
Please
get connected with Roberta to watch this movie. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. This has been another episode of Producer's Corner, where we spotlight diverse voices and artists here in East Multnomah County. All of these productions have been made by an educational cohort that have been just doing such a great job. With each episode, I feel like we keep improving, so I'm excited for more episodes in the future. Please tune in to our past episodes. Give us a like, leave us a good review, and that's all. Thank you.